In every corner of Africa, stories breathe, tales buried in dust, whispered through firelight. You're about to hear one of them. Welcome to African Horror Stories. Angolan Folklore. The Silence of Kalunga's Reef. The fishing village of Musuenda clung to the Angolan coast, where the ochre soil of the mainland dissolved into the vast slate-gray expanse of the Atlantic. In this place, the ocean was not just a source of food, it was Kalunga, the cosmic boundary. It separated the kuna zenza, the world of the living, from the kuna mpemba, the world of the dead and the ancestors. Life demanded that this boundary be respected. Every fisherman understood the law. One must offer small gifts, cassava, copper tokens, a splash of maluvu, palm wine, at the edge of water before launching a boat. These were not taxes, they were confirmations that the living acknowledged the eternal power of the dead. Kuenda, however, saw ritual as a tax paid by fools. He was a man defined by impatience and a relentless, calculating greed. While his neighbors revered the Simbi water spirits and listened to the counsel of the kimbanda, spiritual healer, Kuenda saw only profits. The kimbanda, Elder Mushima, had a specific warning for him. Kuenda, you fish with arrogance. You treat Kalunga's gate like a market stall. Remember the Black Reef. It is not a place for nets, but for whispers. The Suku spirit there is the guardian of the threshold. Take from that reef, and you take from the ancestral house. They will collect a debt far heavier than silver. The Black Reef lay 10 kilometers out, a crown of dark petrified wood and coral that only breached the surface at low tide. Around it, the ocean performed a constant thunderous symphony, yet the interior waters were always unnaturally quiet. It was known to be the place where the recently departed paused before entering the ancestral world, making the fish there sacred messengers. For nearly 2 months, the waters closer to Musuenda were stingy. The fish seemed to have fled the coast. The other fishermen returned with light baskets, praying and waiting for the sea's mood to change. Kuenda's nets remained dry, and his temper flared hotter than the midday sun. He started pushing his boundaries. He would fish past sunset, using lights where others dared not. He violated the unspoken rule of sharing the best fishing spots. But even his defiance yielded nothing. The vast silver schools of the deep were simply absent. The sight of his children going without proper meals, a poverty he felt was a personal insult, finally shattered his caution. He stood on the shore, watching the distant, ominous spray of the Black Reef. The kimbanda's warnings became faint, replaced by the seductive whispers of wealth. He imagined the immense, high-value fish that surely sheltered in that untouchable place. He spent a full day preparing his largest, strongest net. He loaded his alu, canoe, with more equipment than was safe. That evening, he lied to his wife, saying he was sailing north to a remote lagoon. He waited until the moon was hidden behind heavy cloud cover, and then, without a single offering or prayer, Kuenda pushed his canoe into the silent, waiting sea, pointing its prow towards the very center of Kalunga's forbidden domain. The journey to the Black Reef was long and unnerving. The ocean's swell grew into slow, massive humps of water, but the wind dropped, creating an eerie calm that felt less natural than menacing.
As Kuenda crossed the unseen threshold, the external sound faded entirely. The roar of the waves, the chirping of night insects, the groan of his own wooden boat, all were muffled as if submerged in deep mud. He arrived at the reef. The water was pitch black, yet shimmered with a cold, ghostly luminescence. And there they were, colossal fish, silver and blue, circling slowly, almost hypnotically. They were not merely numerous, they were so dense that the water looked like a solid, undulating mass of living metal. Kuenda felt no fear now, only the blinding thrill of fortune. He cast his enormous net directly into the heart of the school. The weight was immediate and immense. He struggled for an hour, his muscles screaming, hauling a catch that could sink a small ship. As he secured the lines, a ripple spread through the dark water, not caused by a wave or a fish. A towering figure rose silently beside the canoe. This was the Suku of the threshold. It was impossibly thin, woven from dark, churning water and the deep-sea phosphorescence of dying things. Its eyes were vacant, flat white discs that stared directly into Kuenda's soul. Kuenda dropped his rope. The Suku raised an arm made of swirling shadow. "You have trespassed. You have captured the souls awaiting their passage. Now the law of Kalunga is enacted. You are here, but you will belong to the silence of the other side." The Suku's hand drifted towards Kuenda's face. Kuenda screamed, but his cry was silence. The Suku was not physical. It did not touch his skin. Instead, a sensation of icy coldness pierced his chest. It felt as if an agonizing, sucking pressure at his throat, as if an invisible thread were being pulled from his lungs. It was his voice, not just the sound, but the linguistic spirit that connected him to the living world. With a final, terrible shudder, the Suku extracted a thick, dark plume of vapor, the captured essence of Kuenda's speech, and dissolved back into the black water. The spiritual wound was followed by the physical punishment. The massive dead weight of the net, now anchored deep within the reef, pulled the canoe violently under. Kuenda was tumbled into the chaos, barely managing to grasp a floating piece of the shattered hull. He drifted for a day before the currents returned him, bruised and broken, to the shores of Musuenda. The villagers found him and treated his wounds, but they instantly understood the depth of his trespass. When Kuenda attempted to tell the terrifying tale, his mouth opened, his chest strained, but all that emerged was a hollow, desperate rattle, a sound like dry sand shifting in a cracked gourd. The Suku had taken his voice, replacing it with the very silence that guards Kalunga's gate. He could hear the rhythmic mortar pounding, the warm laughter of the women, the vital arguments of the fishermen, and the counsel of the kimbanda. Yet he was severed from it all. He could not speak to curse, nor could he speak to pray. Kuenda lived out his days as a cautionary figure. He sat by the fire, unable to share stories or warnings, forced to communicate only through futile gestures. His punishment was not death, but a life spent kuna zenza among the living, imprisoned by the mpemba, the silence of the dead. From then on, every new fisherman standing at the edge of the great ocean looked out at the distant, thundering spray of the Black Reef and remembered the mute lesson of Kuenda, that the ocean is not a resource to be plundered, but Kalunga, the sacred boundary, and its silence will always claim its rightful price.
That's all for today. If you liked the video, let me know by hitting like And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe for more. You can watch another video of mine right here. See you next time.